Hi everybody, it's Friday and welcome to episode 35 of The Run to the Hills. Today, Eddie has a chat with Michael Stocks about his new book, One Track Mind. World records are broken and it feels like racing is back. But first, we'll catch up with my co-host, Eddie Sutton. Hey Eddie, how's it going?
I wrote a whole page blog, which I sent to you, which you haven't actually replied about, yeah, racing's back, but I can't go racing, so none of it counts and I don't care. But it was so exciting this weekend to track races and to see people racing. And I'm only just eaten alive with jealousy that I'm in this endless hamster wheel of train, eat, sleep, repeat. But it only means I'm going to come back stronger.
Yes, focused.
But I love that. Yes, I'm just laser. I'd like to say I was laser focused, but that tub of raw ice cream I ate last night till I was like, I can't eat anymore. Bryn's like, you've got to finish it now. You're so close.
Yeah. Just push on through. It's all ultra training.
I pushed on through, and then you go to bed going, why did I do that? Anyway, I'm good. How are you? What's news?
What is news? Right. Oh my goodness me. We had George's birthday on Sunday, which was nice. We had a lovely birthday breakfast. Some
pancakes, waffles.
No, we had brioche, which was good. And what else do we have? Yeah, just a family breakfast. Then we went out for a stroll to the local seaside, see him. I had fish and chips and ice cream. Then we had our Mexican tea. My belly thought it was Christmas. I never, at one point the whole day, did I feel like I was hungry. I just kept topping it up. It was, but the sun fooled me. I thought it was lovely and warm outside. And then after 10 minutes with the northeast wind on my arms, it was pretty chilly. But yeah, really nice. It was good. Lovely day. Oh, what did we do running wise? We did an interval session, threshold session. That was good. Big day out on the fells on Saturday. I did a leg 2 recce out and back. But it was a bit of a detour on the way back because I ran out of water. So I had to hunt for water, and it was very dry at the moment over here. But we found some at the bottom of Dunmill Raise. There's a beck, which comes kind of down in between Steelfell and Dollywagon, and that had really lovely crystal clear running water.
Oh, there's nothing like it. Oh my gosh. That thirst that you get when you're sort of long run, you run out of water and you can't go about anything else. Yeah. And you're like running, going, where's the water? Where's the water? And then when you find it, and there's not enough water in the world. Oh my God.
On the way to looking for water, I had a savoury, after listening to Tom, our interview that we got coming up soon, I got a savoury treat from Lidl or Aldi. It was a focaccia. What a nightmare that was, trying to eat that with a dry mouth. So I just had this ball of focaccia in my mouth, just looking, just
like a fur ball.
It was horrible.
Do you find it harder when it goes from winter to spring? I find I get more thirst because I'm not used to sweating. And so then I'm like, oh my God, I need water. Because in the winter, I don't drink very much when I'm training because it's freezing. And then suddenly when and I guess as well, we're not used to any sort of heat, and it just gets a little bit hot, and we're Brits and we're like, oh my God, it's tropical.
Yeah, definitely. And especially when I'm out more and I'm eating, then you're trying to kind of see if you've got a Jelly Babies or something like that, or a G-Charge bar, then you'll kind of wash it down with some water or a sports drink. But yeah, I got to Dunmill Raise and I was empty. And the water, anyone who knows that part of the lakes, there's usually quite a lot of water down there, but down the bottom it was dry. And just thinking,
and that's the worst too, isn't it? When you think there's water and you get there and it's dry.
Well, I met this other bunch of people who were kind of on the fells at the same time doing what I was doing, and they were going to go back same as me as an out and back, but they were born dry out of water, so they got the bus back. But luckily I found water. It just modified I was supposed to do Steelfell and Fairfield again, but I didn't. I kind of hit more of the Dodds on the way back, so I kind of made up for it that way. But yeah, really great. About 7.5 hours out, I did feel the effects of my AstraZeneca jab on Friday.
Did you? Yeah. It was very brave of you to go on the Saturday.
Immediately felt it. coming out of Threlkeld, normally it's uphill, but it's quite gentle the first little bit before you hit Clough Head. And I'd run all of that, and pretty much until you get to the gate, and then you start the climb. But immediately I just thought, oh, this feels a bit harder than normal.
Yeah.
You just adjust appropriate. I'm not silly, I'm not kind of macho with it. I would have turned around if it was too hard going. But yeah, I just adjusted the pace. The effort was the same, but just the pace was a bit slower. So it made I was probably out on the fells for about half an hour longer. But yeah.
Damn you, COVID.
I know.
And tell me this, I have a question. These longer days at the weekend, are you finding it harder with your training than during the week? Are you finding your legs are tired, or are you like getting used to it?
I think because they're usually a Saturday big run, I'm okay again for Tuesday. But luckily this week, there is no double. Normally I have 2 sessions a week, say like an interval session, then a threshold run. This week, there's only the interval session in the plan. So that's good. So I've got kind of a good rest until Thursday. But Sunday, again, no DOMs. My protocol of get massage gun on the legs. I eat a ton of food.
Well, I was going to say, with your very hashtag professional athlete recovery program on Sunday, by Monday you probably
the glycogen it's well topped up. Yeah, I eat a ton of food. Hit the massage gun. No DOMs again. But yeah, tired. 7-8 hours on the fells. Anybody is going to be tired. But yeah, I ran on Sunday. I just did 2 little jogs with the dog, about 3-4 miles each, and it was fine. Yesterday was fine. Today's been fine. So hopefully all ready to go again for Thursday. But I was curious actually, for this Bob Graham round 24-hour race, these are getting to 8-hour days now that I'm hitting on the fells. Would you think maybe go to 10 hours, or you think no, 8 hours is appropriate?
No. I think you've got it right, because you're able to do these long days. You feel strong. You're still dipping into your reserves, as you said. You're finding your thirst barrier and your hunger, but you're able to recover by the Tuesday and still get a little bit. Your quality always drops off when you need to do these big days during the week. And you're perfect. You're just going to do one session. You can't do everything, can you? You have to get the balance right. But it sounds right now that you've got a really good balance. You're sort of teetering on the edge probably of a bit of like, I'm really tired, but I've got a couple more weeks, a training. You're right on that sort of pinnacle when I'd be going to clients, keep talking to me, how are you feeling? Have you got you're right on that sort of like, I'm really fit, I'm really strong. I've still got a few more sessions to do, but I'm just holding. And now is the most important time to listen to your body.
I do feel a few aches, but that's only natural. But I'm so pleased I can do a big day, and I feel okay. The coming up we'll talk about later on, but this week's we're going to do leg 1 and leg 2, and then hit Steel Fell afterwards. So we'll get 28 miles in and a lot of elevation. It's going to be well over 10,000 feet. So that will be a good day. So yeah, I'm feeling more confident actually than I was last year. So all good. Yourself?
I broke myself last week.
Oh my goodness.
So it's all in the name of the podcast. I needed some content. So I thought I'll go out hard. So last week, I know Tim loves it when I talk about our kids, but it was the end of our 3-week spell with the kids at home every day, and I managed to carry on training like slightly less hours than normally that I do, but about between 15 and 18 hours of training I've managed to fit in every week. It's not been pretty, and the evenings have been cross-eyed, like literally the kid have been like, go to bed, and then come downstairs. Bryn's been like, so what should we watch? And be like, I go to bed. Okay. Or I just can watch. Only thing I can watch is location. Yeah. When you put more on that, really the and I watch it and I go, I think I've already seen this one. I don't mind. I just watch again. Anyway, I had a big brick to do. Any triathletes out there will know a brick session is when you put 2 sports together.
Okay.
Used to do a lot of it in my triathlon days, running bikes. And so I had probably, this is enormous for what I would do on a normal day. So I didn't help myself. I only had 90 minutes the day before, kids free time during the day. So I thought I had a 90-minute run the program. Perfect. And I thought, let's see if I can get half marathon done in that time in the hills. Oh Lord. I got a comment from coach saying, was this an easy run? Was it an easy run? I was like, oh.
Classic.
Oh, not so easy. And the next day I had a 90-minute run and a 3-hour bike ride.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought this is good. This is going to be fun. Roped in some mates that ride their bikes along a lot for the ride. And I was meant to do my run afterwards. But because in the mornings here, it's still really cold, you can't really go on your bike until like midday. Otherwise, one, you freeze, and two, you'll slip on the roads.
Yeah.
So we couldn't really meet till midday. So I was like, I talked to Coat, we could do the run first. So 90-minute run first. Oh, felt the effects of the day before. That was foolish. Came back, like stuffed some food down my mouth, got on the bike. Now, I've never ridden this bike. I rode the bike the day before for 40 minutes because not using the same bike that I train on, and jumped on it. And they said, okay, we're going to go up to Voriaz, which is an hour-long climb.
Okay.
A mountain climb up to the sort of ski resort up to 2,200 meters above us. I was like, that'll be fine. I can just tap in behind them. Oh, my sweet Lord. My legs. I mean, the minute we started pedaling, I was like, okay, I can feel this. And by the time we got to the top of the climb, I couldn't sit in the saddle because my bum was so sore and my hamstrings were so sore. And we just turned around the top and I was like, I can't stop pedaling. I'm just going to have to keep pedaling down this because if I stop, I don't think I'll be able to get back on my bike. Anyway, it was, I was really proud of myself. 3 hours. Oh my God, it hurt. It hurt so bad. My legs hurt so bad. When I got home, I joke you not, I could not lift my legs to go up the stairs. My adductors and my hamstrings had they haven't worked. Well, I haven't ridden my bike for longer than an hour for like 11 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. That'll be it then.
Oh my God, I was so stiff, but it was great and I loved it. And my friends were very supportive and encouraging, and they allowing me to go out again with them this week. And hopefully, and we all know, like when you've had a long break from a sport, the baptism of fire going back into it is going to be ugly. Yeah. But I'm going to persevere because it's such good cross training. I'm going to go again. I've got a slightly shorter run to do before this time, which I think will help. That was huge. That was a 4.5 hour training day. Yeah. Oh, it's good, but it's such good volume. And I can, now the trails are opening up. I did a sort of long run on Sunday and I can feel the difference when I'm running uphill. It's like, I'm not dragging skis and I'm not on a bike. Jogging up this is easy. So fingers crossed. It's making a difference. We all have to hope it is.
Ooh, that sounds good. Yeah, we've got some race results for you now. It's been a busy weekend, and a few of the events that have popped up on my radar are the Hardmoors 15 and the Hardmoors 30, and the male winner for that was Matt. Shardlow, fastest male, and the fastest female, Julia Jackson in the Hardmoors 30. Ben Hamilton and Abby Lawrence came first in those events. And there was a Clough Head fell race, which was quite good because when I was over there, they nicely flagged out my route up to Clough Head. I didn't know what was going on, and I thought all these flags were there, and I saw it when I got back. Yeah, really nice of them. That's the best line up Clough Head. But Max Wainwright won that, and a Scout Adkin, who was friends of previous guest on the show, Sarah McCormack, she came first too, and they had 142 starters and 142 finishers. So brilliant.
I love it.
Yeah. Trail Outlaws too, they had the Washington 10K, and that's part of their urban trail series. So it's like nice trails in a town. Lots of these places you don't kind of realize what the trails are like on your doorstep. So they've got this kind of trail series around there, which is quite nice. And Steve Rankin won that, and Anna McLean was the fastest lady. And what I would say, any race directors listening to this, if they have a race that they want us to feature in this section of the show, then get in touch. We record the show on a Tuesday usually, so send us a message or something over social media kind of Sunday or Monday if you want us to give a shout out to people who've taken part in your event.
I'm going to talk about some world records, some national records. Centurion Running hosted their second 100-mile invitational meet on a track. You have to qualify for this event, and James Elson, who's the race director, who is sort of been absolute sort of the forerunner in getting races back you say forerunner? Getting races back up and going after COVID. He's done amazing things with Centurion running, and he's worked so hard on getting this. It's been his dream to get this sort of track style elite race where people can go for national records. Loads of hard work gone into the background, not only setting it up a couple of years ago, but now getting it set up in the pandemic as well. So huge kudos to him, and I think it all paid off. I watched big time. I watched Alexander Sorokin as he broke the world record, and James was like Instagramming it live, and his voice sort of broke with emotion when he watched it, because it must have been exhausting for him to get this all up and running, and to see it all pay off is massive. So many records, so many great performances. The world record, Alexander Sorokin broke the world record, and also the 12-hour record.
He kept going, didn't he?
He kept going, a Latvian 50-mile national record, 6:45-minute mile pace for 12 hours.
Oh my goodness.
How's it make you feel? I mean, I'd like to say, there's sort of like him a marathon pace, but gosh, that's incredible. And he looked so strong. Did you watch some of the feed?
I saw bits of it,
He just looked totally focused, smooth, his running style. I mean, if you want an education on ultra running style, nothing else moved. He was just this relentless running machine. Brit Sam Amend broke the 100-mile national record, and also 6 hours national female vet. Ali Young, she did a huge 100-mile PB and a 12-hour national female vet 45 record. And Joe Newens, 100 miles, 12 hours, 50 miles and 6 hours national female vet 50. And Andy Jordan, 50 miles and 6 hours national vet 55 Brilliant. Age group. So gosh, what a host, and what a great way now, because I think a lot of those records, people haven't been able to contest them because mainly our ultra races are on trail, or if they are, they're run over the 24-hour format. So then it's really hard to go and you're not looking at 6 hours. So James this is just incredible for people that are looking at breaking those records, and hopefully in years to come we're going to see a lot more contested. And just the format, I loved watching the feed on YouTube. I dipped in and out of it, and they did these amazing little vignettes of the day. They made little films. If you haven't seen them, head over to the Centurion Running webpage. They're all up on there. They're so inspirational, and if anyone feels like dipping their toes in the 24-hour world, I think it would sell it to you. Definitely wouldn't sell it to me, Gary. Not my thing. What about you?
Well, I think it is quite pure, isn't it? That's how far you can run in 24 hours on a track. So there's no fells or anything to contend with. So there's something that appeals to me about it, but it's a long time, isn't it? It's a long time. It's a long time.
I did when I ran the Anglo-Celtic Plate, and it was 100k, and it was 1 mile laps. The laps weren't the thing that bothered me, because after a while you kind of just zone out of where you're on that. The thing that got to me most was that you couldn't get away. You're in this goldfish bowl, and you go through a bad patch, and everybody's there, and you just can't get out of that. Every time you can't, like you zone out on the trails, and you can go for half an hour with like the facial collapse face, and nothing, not much goes on up there anyway, Eddie. But but when you've got people all the time watching you, I found that really, I didn't enjoy that. I thought that's not how I like to run personally. I'm more of a sort of like Julie Andrews in The Sound of Music kind of. Anyway, we were so super stoked to see races back, things happening in the UK. Huge kudos to race directors for getting it done, and we can't wait to see more races happening in the next few weeks or so.
I think it was wonderful. I've listened to the podcast that James does with Dan Lawson, and it's years ago I remember them talking about these kind of 24-hour track events, and to see it. It's not, it's not over. When you say fruition, it's almost like you kind of finished, but it really did feel like it come to fruition, especially with all the hurdles that race directors have to go through at the moment to get a safe event going. Massive well done to everybody.
A couple of weeks ago, I had a really great chat with Michael Stocks, who was actually competing in the Centurion 100 invitational race over the weekend. He didn't have the race. I know that he wanted to. He stopped at about 100K, but I know he'll be the first one to put his hand up and say, live and learn. Nothing lost, all to gain from learning from that experience. We talk all about his journey into 24-hour running and the book that he's written called One Track Mind. It's a really great read. If you are thinking about getting into ultras or 24 hours, it's now an audiobook as well. It's not long, but it follows him throughout his bid to get the 24-hour GB team qualifying time, and it sort of dips in and out of the race and his memories and different little stories that motivate him. I love the way that it's written. It's really unusual. So take a read of that. And here we have Michael Stocks talking all about his running journey and his book, One Track Mind.
Thanks for listening. And if you're enjoying this episode, then pop a post on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Also leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, Spotify or wherever you are tuning in from. Head over to YouTube too and subscribe to our channel.
Hello, welcome to Run to the Hills podcast, Michael Stocks. Nice to see you with a beautiful mountain. What was it called in the background you've got today?
Hi, Eddie. Yeah, that's the Drakensberg Mountains. So a mountain called the Sentinel, which is, in the wonderful Drakensberg. My favorite place in the world has to be.
I just started talking to Michael. I've just read his book, which is just out now, called One Track Mind, What Running 150 Miles in a Day Can Feel Like. And I can feel the listeners gasp of horror when they think 150 miles in a day. A little bit of background about Michael before we get into the book and how it was written. Michael is an established ultra runner. He's run 150, actually more than 150 miles in 24 hours. You are the winner of Thames Path 100 mile Centurion race. You are bronze medal at the 100 kilometer Anglo-Celtic plate representing England, and you've represented, it's a spoiler for the book, but you represented Great Britain at the World 24-Hour Championships. So firstly, welcome to the podcast. And secondly, can you just tell us a little bit, I know I've read your accolades, but a little bit about your running journey, and sort of start from the beginning and take us to that track where the book starts, and then we can talk about the book.
Okay, wow, it's quite a trip. Anyway, but firstly, thanks for having me on the podcast. Really, really fantastic. So I started running at about 35, sort of more seriously. And kind of the 20s were cigarettes and wine, and work, like so many of us. And in my early 30s, I started to sort of try to get in touch with my body and my health just a little bit more. And so started running, first aiming for kind of 10K, and then as you do, half marathon, the same kind of well-trodden path a lot of people have taken. Got to sort of the reasonable club level standard at the marathon. And as you can probably hear from my voice, there's a little bit of South African there. So although I've been in the UK for 20 years, I was born in Johannesburg, South Africa. And if you're a runner in South Africa, the only thing that counts is the Comrades Marathon, which for anyone who doesn't know is 56 very hilly miles on the road between two cities in South Africa, Durban and Pietermaritzburg. The one year it goes down, the next year it goes back the other way. And so it was a natural thing for me to kind of go for Comrades. So I would get some respect from my South African friends, because marathons don't count.
You'd seen your dad do Comrades, hadn't you, as you were growing up?
Yeah, he did it 3 times. And which as a kid is obviously quite a profound experience, to see all these people staggering into the stadium at the end of this 56-mile run. And then one of them is your father. It obviously creates quite a strong, lasting impression. Of probably part good, part bad. I'm not quite sure. Because also I remember the entire family trying to lever him up off the floor because he couldn't straighten his legs, which is probably quite traumatic as a child.
Because I think about that with my kids when they see me. Now I often don't bring them to the finish of ultras because I'm like, I don't really want them to see Mum.
Well, even worse, sort of 80% into the race, I suppose. Yeah. They really see you struggling. But it's a bit of a mixed blessing. But so anyway, so I went and did the Comrades and fell in love with that race. And I do recommend to anybody who does ultras, even if they do an ultra, then go and do Comrades. They cut it off at 25,000 entries. 20,000 people setting off on this, massive community on this for an ultra. It's just like no other ultra in the world, obviously. And then did that for a while, and then well, my kind of dream became to run for England at 100K, the Anglo-Celtic Plate. And I tried for about 5 years to get in to that with using my comrades' times as qualifiers and some of my other races, and had the annual rejection email from Walter Hill, the convener of selectors, and then decided that clearly was never going to happen. And then 2 weeks later thought, well, let me at least ask for feedback and find out, is there anything more I could do to try to get over the line? Because Walter had said, if you want feedback, let me know. So I sent him a note, and he, from that, hooked me up with a coach who then kind of helped me to get to the sort of England level, a guy, Norman Wilson. And then we had this plan to try to get into the England team for 100K and to try to run for GB at 24 hour. And part of that also was running my first 100 mile, which was the Thames Path 100, which was just a wonderful race. I think Centurion just do the most incredible events. So it was fantastic to be part of that. And so the 100K went off as planned. And then I guess you said get you to the track where the book is about. That was Tooting 24 hour, where I was trying to qualify for Great Britain, so to get the qualification standard, and then the rain began to fall on the track.
I mean, so you start the book, you've sort of gone through all that process, but you dip in and out of it as you're running around the track. So for our listeners, because we have quite a few listeners that this will be not only mind-blowing, but we're like, well, what is this 24 hours? Can you explain the sort of 24-hour format? It's not complicated. You appear at a particular point and run for 24 hours, then stop. So 24 hours normally on a track or quite a small circuit of about a mile or slightly less. Everyone starts at the same time. Everyone finishes at 24 hours, and whoever runs the furthest wins. And it's quite a very important event for international level runners, because it's one of the international standards for ultra running. So a lot of the kind of very well-known ultra runners run 24-hour. People like Camille Herring and Scott Jurek, Courtney Darwalter, all those kind of people to have the chance to earn a international best. And and then for international competition, it's teams of 6 people, and 6 men, 6 women, and the first 3 score for the team. And it's just whatever the total is obviously the team score. And in general, the idea is stop as little as possible or don't stop. So most people are trying not to stop at all, or apart from maybe occasional loo break or something like that. And one of the questions is things like, do you sleep? No, you don't. Not if you want to obviously go as far as you can, because literally every second you're not moving forward is just lost time, really. So you just want to get all those meters in the bank. So. And you have a crew right by the track for you.
Yeah.
You talk a lot about your crew in your book. We'll get to that in a minute. And they are allowed to give you whatever you need.
Yeah, so they are your lifeline, your brain when yours stops working, like in a lot of ultras, and they're thinking for you kind of later on. So I'm very, very blessed to have my wife Jane, who's kind of always leads my crew at major events. And so they set up camp by the side of the track, and literally there's tents and gazebos and things like that for the lucky crew. There were a couple at this race who, there's this wonderful photo on the event website of someone sitting in a chair with a plastic bag over their head, with the rain pouring down, and with tents on kind of either side of the crew, who kind of had all the mod cons. It was hilarious now. Obviously it was pitiful at the time. But there's
And-
literally an encampment around
and you were allowed, I mean, you were allowed to step off the track in a 20. You can go into, if your crew are lucky enough to sort of have a gazebo, you can go in there, you can go to the loo, you can receive treatment, you can take a nap, you know, we've all seen it, you know, but every second, as you said, you're off the track, you're not counting meters. So those that are competitive will not step off the track apart from to go to the loo, or if they urgently require some sort of medical assistance, or not. So the start of the book, you find yourself on the track, on the start. Can you just explain how the book sort of follows along? Because I like the way it's sort of set out for readers, because we literally are there with you for 24 hours.
What I was hoping to get across the book is kind of the kind of the thoughts, the mental process, the emotions that one has in a race like that. So lots of quite short snippets. And we started out at the start line with these 46 other amazing people, and it started to rain. It rained for like 19 hours of the race. It was a bit dire at times, especially the next morning, when it just was absolutely
you got very cold.
Got very, very cold. So with these amazing characters, the people like Jeff Oliver, 85 years old, Patricia Seabrook, 78. Feel like Sarah Morwood, who's run for GB after damaging her leg very, very badly in a biking accident. Just these amazing people. Marco Consani, he was a sort of amazing elite international who I'd read about and had never actually met, and who had as a crew, Debbie Martin Consani, sort of like, can't get more elite crew than that. So just all these amazing people with their incredible stories for such a small group of people. And so really the book is about kind of my journey through the race, but also sort of reflecting on some of those people, some of the I suppose the things that brought us there, both myself, but also I think generally some of the dynamics that would make people want to run around a track for 24 hours in the rain. Still probably the jury's out on why that is, but I've tried to identify some things. So then we kind of just wind through the next 24 hours as things kind of get more and more intense, I suppose.
Well, did you plan to write the book before you did this? Or did it come to you during the race or after the race? That was something that I couldn't work out when I was reading their book. I was like, how do you remember all those bits?
Yeah, no, I didn't plan it. It's when I left that track, I was just struck by it was literally life-changing. I mean, we use that word as a throwaway term, but it was so profound for me in the sense it gave me of community and of just the fact that what I did myself. I was sort of, you get to the end of a race like that, and I know it was the same for anybody who got to the end. It's like, how did I do that? How did it happen? And your brain is trying to make sense of it. But it was everything from the sort of the developing relationship I had with Paul Maskell, who I was racing closely with for the lead throughout the race, and who kind of started off as one of the people I was worried about as, who might beat me. And towards the end, I just didn't really care. I still wanted to win, but I just kind of wanted him to do well. And it was those kind of things and how they sort of changed my perception of being part of a community. And just some of the people I saw, like Jeff and Patricia and the things that they did. And just as the atmosphere around the track from the organizers, there's just this amazing positive energy from the supporters. So everybody's crew helping everybody else, all of those kind of little things. Philosophically, the fact that this race was happening there, and just on the other side of the fence, there's these people getting on with their lives, doing all these things and having no idea that this amazing thing is going on. And we're just kind of going round and round this 400-meter loop, and people are getting on with their lives everywhere else. And we're having this profound experience, but actually we're still on the same 400-meter loop. So there was all of these things. And I just, in the sort of the days after the race, I was just sitting there going, wow, this is amazing. I wanted to express those things and share them with other people and try to capture what we what we experience in these kind of races and make it, and just share that with people who might want to do those races or who may never want to. And I might tell them why they never want to, but because I think there's something in those experiences that does relate to any sort of major, profound or difficult experience that we have in life. It doesn't have to be, ultra running. So
absolutely. And one thing you talk about is on your journey all the way up to reaching that start line is that what was unthinkable at the start becomes something that you can do. And I think even if you're reading your book and thinking, why would you ever do that? I could never do that. You talk very in simple terms about, well, as soon as you run 10 yards, 100 yards, you become a runner. And then you run 5K and then you think, well, I can do that. And then I can run 10K. And then you sort of say, well, nothing is unachievable. It's the mindset that you have to change. And then you can't do that overnight. It's a developmental thing and something that you've worked really hard on as well.
Yeah, so an evolving sense of possibility, because you can't, and I didn't wake up going, gee, I want to run for 24 hours. I didn't even know.
Don't think anyone does, Michael. No one does.
Yeah, exactly. I'm still not sure I want to.
No, I think everyone says that too.
But these things happen over time. And yes, if you've just done your first 5K and now suddenly 10K is possible, and that wasn't. So it's the same with something like 24 hour. And who knows what's next, but that is something, and we convince our brains about what's possible by the things we do, by our training runs, by the things we tell ourselves as we finish a race that's longer and longer, these things become possible for us.
You do a lot of work on your mental, on your psychological training as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that, how you switching the negatives to the positives, and the sort of imagery you use? Because I'm a big believer in the power of that, especially in ultra running. I think that's sort of like 85 to 90% is the power of the brain.
Absolutely. It's so important. So yeah, I have a number of things that I do. I have someone who I use for visualization, and she kind of talks me through, so I send her pictures of the race environments, and she'll talk me through it and sort of plant and just help me imagine very, very clearly the race, and help me imagine different points during the race. So for example, one of the biggest challenges in a race like the 24 hour when you ultra is that moment when your negative voice says you don't want to be here, this is not what you want to do, for
especially
example.
If it chimes in quite early on.
Absolutely. Yeah, which it invariably does. And so we do things in visualization, like she would say things like, you look around, you see whatever, the trees or something like that, and you think how grateful you are to be here. And I'm sitting there going, I'm so grateful to be here. And those things are very important to condition your mind for those moments, to remind yourself why you're there. So there's that kind of stuff I do. And then I work with the guy, Andy Barton, who's a mental performance coach, and on things like just taking control of the narrative in my head, which I sometimes do successfully, sometimes not, because all these things are kind of
work in progress. Always
work in progress, exactly. And I do it, and then I just stop doing it because I think I've got it sussed, and of course I just go back to old ways. And that's things like the negative narrative in our heads that we all have to some or other degree, and especially in races as it gets hard, it's things like you can walk, or you should walk, stop. All those kind of things, but the voice trying to persuade you to not do what you want to do and what you actually can do. And I'm a big believer in that you have to do the work before the race, because you can't sort of have one session with someone or read something cool on a website and go, okay, great, so now I know what to do. You've got to practice it. And if I've done my work properly before a big race, I'll go in there and the negative voice will be significantly less, because I'm in a place where when I hear negative things, I use the example sometimes of kind of you wake up in the morning and go, oh God, I'm not a morning person. I feel terrible. And I try to change. I go, hold on, but actually, I'm going to go and get a cup of coffee. I'm going to go and sit in the sun, and that's going to be a wonderful moment. So actually, yeah, mornings are okay for me. So it's like interrupting all the negativity, changing the narrative. And you can't do it all the time. You know, it would be too exhausting, but just a few times a day, catch those things. And then going into a race with a good mindset and having practiced those things in training runs as well, hard training runs. So when you go in a hard training run, you're going, I'm feeling terrible or whatever. You go, actually, no, you know what? I'm feeling okay. And isn't this great? I'm 4 hours into this run and it's going okay. It's fine. Yes, of course, I'm tired and I'm sore, but it was always thus. When was it ever different? So it's okay. It's going well.
I think acknowledging the feeling is a huge thing, and
Absolutely.
not being frightened of it.
Yeah.
Acknowledging it, as I do that so much myself. I acknowledge how you feel. Normally you feel knackered. It's not going to get any worse. Thanks very much. Feel really tired. Right, but you're still going, you're still moving. One thing my husband said to me, which sort of changed when I'd had the kids and I was going back to races, and I'd get so stressed with like leaving kids, organizing everything, by the time I get to the race, I'd be exhausted mentally. Yeah. And then I'd be like, all I really wanted to be would be back home with the kids. I'd be like, I'm missing out. What are they doing? Did he remember to take them to the swimming lesson? Didn't? And he'd be like, right, you're going to go running. You've got to change your mindset. We are fine. You've got to forget about that. And you've got to focus on what you're doing and think and be grateful for the fact you've got family at home to go to, and that they're at home and they're getting on with their life. They're not bothered about you, and focus on what you're doing. So just changing that little mindset that was not my job that day. They were fine. And for them to be happy, I had to focus on what I was doing. And by doing that well, that would then tick off the box that they would be fine as well. It was sort of like just turning the mindset. It is just all in our brain, really. It's not anything miraculous or hugely scientific. It's just a switch, turning that switch into what could be a negative into a positive. But as you said, it's something you've got to work on every single day, all day. Absolutely. And so many people don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily a big thing, but it's amazing how positive the effect can be. And like the example you used, because if you're in a race and it's getting really bad and you're worried about your family, that's actually an excuse for you to stop potentially.
Exactly.
And so it's not good for them, it's not good for you, and then you're going to be all grumpy or whatever when you go back home, and they're going to go, God, we have to do it again.
You've been
now.
There, Michael. Oh dear.
So yeah, no, it's absolutely right. But yeah, practicing before you go. And I don't try to do the stuff all the time. It's more as I'm getting nearer to a race, because I think it would be a bit tedious, and I'd probably be a bit of an irritating person to be around if I was trying to be all positive and saying positive things all the time. But it is just saying positive things about the outcome of the race. So for me, it's saying I'm really looking forward to that race, because that just also conditions my brain that's listening to those things I'm telling myself before the run. Because if I was going, oh God, it's going to be really, really sore and hard and tiring, I'm really quite scared or worried, then that's the mindset I'm going to take in. I might still get through the race, but I'm going to be fighting my mind a lot more than when my subconscious gets there and knows that I want to be doing this
and lots of people will be, especially now when we've not raced for 1,000 years, those pre-race jitters and nerves will be so heightened, won't they, of all the what ifs. And you talk about that in the book, that you actually used to get so nervous before races, by the time you got to the start you were dreading it, and you'd almost done your race because you were a bit of a wreck.
I would be dreading it literally weeks or even months in advance. I would just get this flood of adrenaline, and to the extent that I had to, and that's what first sent me to a sports psychologist, was I thought, if I don't change this, I'm going to have to just give up racing, because it's just so not enjoyable. I'm literally having months of not just nerves, dread. Yeah. So I had to change the way that I thought about those races by just doing things like saying the right thing, saying, I'm really looking forward to that race, which I did not mean at all initially, but over time it changed the narrative in my mind. Yeah. And now I still get nervous, but I don't dread those races. Actually, I want to be there. I look forward to them in some weird way.
Do you think also that is down to, you talk a lot about like though you're not a professional runner, you're an elite runner, and you train, you do everything you can to be as professional as possible. And so that, I think, as well gives you a lot of confidence and positivity on the start line. If you've ticked a lot of boxes going in, you've done everything you can. Can you tell us, because I know a lot of people will be thinking, how do you train for a race like this physically? We talked a little bit mentally, but physically, I mean, do you go out? Do you run for 24 hours every day?
No, happily not. Yeah, it's not that different for me anyway. Everyone's different, but for me, it's not that different to other ultras. And I often say to people training for an ultra, I mean, you're the coach, you will have much more specific views on this probably, but people who want to start ultras, I normally say it's not that different to training for a marathon. It doesn't have to suddenly be that you're out running all day every Sunday or Saturday or whatever it might be. So I just do, I will do a couple of very long runs. So I do a couple of 50 milers in the build up for a 24 hour, like I do for a 100 mile. And then I do quite a few 50Ks. And apart from that, really, it's just, I do long tempo runs. I don't really do any, or very rarely, any really quick work. And that's
okay. I was going to ask that. What sort of speed element do you have in your?
Yes, it's really just tempos.
Okay.
Normally I'll do a few sort of very sharp tempos where I'm sort of struggling after about, really struggling sort of 25, 30 minutes. But I do things like kind of 7 to 10 miles at my 50K pace, which is still quite hard work. And that's my favorite session. And that I feel gives me enough speed. And it's mainly because as an older runner, I'm very suspicious of getting on a track and blasting out intervals. If I was kind of 30 years old and doing what I'm doing, I'd probably be a bit more gung-ho on that. I'm not saying that people shouldn't do that. A lot of 24-hour runners do it very successfully, and 100 milers. It's just I'm just kind of managing my body.
Absolutely.
And so for me, the long tempos give me the speed I need. And then I do a few of these very long runs. And I suspect I could do without the 50 milers at this point, having done enough, so many long runs over the years. But I find psychologically they help me. But for my next race in sort of 3 odd weeks, I did the 150 and I cut the second one down to 40 miles. Because I thought, well, you know what, maybe, do I really need to do 50 miles? Probably not, because we've just got so many miles in our legs, over the years. But the confidence I take from doing those long runs is really important.
But I think that's extreme confidence. That shows what an athlete you've become. How strong you are now that you can say, do you know, I don't need to do that. I'm ready. Doing that might just overcook me. And by doing this is perfect. And to be able to make those sort of decisions shows the work that you've done before that, not only physically, but also mentally, that you can trust in the process.
Very good point. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make a note of that, and I'm going to cut all my sessions down by like 20% over the next week.
I bet people ask you a lot, how do you cope with the boredom of running around a track? What do you do? Is it not just when you start, you've got 24 hours on that track? What do you think about? How do you stop, looking, it's only been 90 minutes?
I mean, everyone's different, and some people can't handle the mental kind of difficulty of a track. For me, it's never bothered me. Because you don't listen to music, do you? Because you talk about taking music and then you never do. Yeah, I don't. I find it just feels like a sort of invasion in my head, like just one more bit of data that I don't really want to manage. But I mean, if I race, I don't really care where I'm racing. So I've always been someone. It's different if I'm going to look around and stuff like that. But if I was in a marathon, it doesn't have to be a beautiful city. I used to run in Rotterdam a lot. So anyone from Rotterdam, it's a great city, but it's not kind of where people often go on certain kinds of holidays.
Well, they go for marathon PBs there, don't they? Nice and flat.
And for me, if I'm racing, I don't really care where I am, because I'm focusing on what I'm doing, on my body, the arguments in my head. So, and I don't find running on a track boring, because you're constantly thinking about something. So if you've got you have these other people on the track, and all the time you're going, are they going to move out of the inside lane? Am I going around? Am I going, how am I getting through them? You're thinking, I feel sick, I feel sore. Is that a dangerous pain? Is that how am I going to eat something? How am I going to, whatever, there's constantly things going on. And I must say boredom is the one problem I did not have, but you have to go into those kind of races not worried about that, should I say? Because if you go in and go, oh my God, how am I going to spend my time?
Well, you're not prepared, are you then, I would say?
Because then you're never going to just be in the moment. Because if you're in the moment and you just try and focus on the present, which we all do as athletes, then you're not going to have a problem with that. Because in the present, you don't care where you are. You're on a track, you're thinking what's ahead, what you have to manage right now in your head or in the world around you, and that's it.
And that, I love that, and I thrive off that, but I think people are and I work on that in training all the time, especially in my long sessions. I try and just be, and it's hard, isn't it? Well, you've got a job, you're going out the house, there's a million things, social media, you're never away from anything if you've got your phone. But I really try a couple of times a week to be totally present in my training session and to think of nothing but my body, my breathing, my effort, my fueling. But it takes practice and it's tiring.
Yeah, associating is tiring. Yeah, if you're just kind of letting your mind wander, then that's and for many people,
and there's a time and a place, isn't there? In ultra running, you've got to be able to wander. Facial collapse, I call it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even myself, as someone who likes to associate in a race, like a 24-hour, it's impossible to associate for 24 hours. So, those moments when, I believe you can be in the present and disassociating at the same time. The sort of the example people always use of, you've driven your car and you're somewhere and you've gotten there and you can't remember how. And those are the most glorious stages of any race, because we haven't really suffered in the same way. But we've been in the present in that, the time has just passed and we just focused in some way on what we're doing.
That is what you call almost the feeling, don't you? You're like, when you're there, but you're tired, but you're just continuing.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's almost like you just a little bit slightly brain dead, and that's actually not a bad thing. And then you get those, because often those things we call bad patches are moments of different kinds of heightened awareness, which are almost the opposite of those wonderful moments when we're just sort of drifting along. But yeah, and music works for a lot of people. I'm not kind of dissing music as a solution, and I wish it worked for me sometimes. But if I'm in a race, the thought of putting something loud in my ears, it just doesn't do it for me. It feels like it would just be an assault on what I'm trying to do. Whereas for some people, they will, for almost the entire 24 hours, will have music and it works for them. So that's great.
Can we jump now to the end of the book, which I did just get quite emotional about when you finished the race. I don't want to say too much. People need to read. But you get home and you have a shower and you sit in your chair, and it's a moment, I know, as ultra runners or anybody that's ever done anything endurance, really pushed themselves beyond what they ever thought was possible. And that satisfaction of being warm, being dry, being home, which I know is a feeling, if you've ever done anything, when you eventually get home and you're back and you sit and you be. Can you talk a little bit about that feeling of pure satisfaction almost, isn't it?
Yeah. Because for so long, it's not just about the race, is it?
Yeah.
For so long, you've been thinking about this race. You've been getting, obviously it's quite stressful. We talk about having a good mindset, but still, you're going to be worried about it and things like that. And then you do the race, it goes well, or at least reasonably well, and there's this release of all that anxiety and that stress. So that's part of it. But then also during the race, as you say, you've dreamt about that moment where you can just kind of relax and be warm and dry. And for me, it's like a recognition or a realization of just those things that are actually really important. And they are things, some very basic comfort of being warm and having something to eat and being being able to rest, having the privilege of rest, and so, and in the book, that's that kind of moment, but with sort of an element of pathos as well for what's past and what hasn't changed in life.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say more than that, because it'd be great if people read it. But
I love that feeling. And I often, if I go and I do something mega, like at the weekend, and I come back and I do the school run the next day, and I'm sort of hobbling up to take kids to school, and the world has carried on. But you've been, and I think that's what, and I think a lot of ultra runners, that's what we thrive on is, and what we lack in our everyday lives nowadays is that we can take ourselves to this place where majority of people will never go, the pain, the suffering, but also the incredible high of achieving something that most people would go, that's impossible. You didn't do that. I said, you didn't run that far. You didn't do that. And then the moment of coming back into normal life when everything's just carried on, and cars are still running, the bus is still going, supermarket's still there, and everything's normal again. And it's often a very depressing time, that crash afterwards, the race, when you've done this, and then the come down, the post ultra come down.
Yeah, and you had this dream. There's this thing that you've been aiming for, and it may be you aiming for it for 6 months. You may be aiming for it for 10 years or for 5 years, whatever it is. And now it's great to realize the dream, but then you better make sure you have another dream, because otherwise you're left without a dream. So, and even if you have another one, you can quickly latch onto. The fact of the matter is, something that was a massive part of your life is now kind of part of you, but is no longer there as this thing that kind of, when you wake up in the morning, you go, oh, wow, I'm going to do that. You can go, yeah, I did that, but that's a different, and it's a
but
wonderful
it's an important part of the whole process. And I think the more you run and you do ultra running, the more that down, you have got to do the down. You got to take yourself back down. You got to lose all that training, all that hard-earned fitness to then go back up. But it's all part of the journey, and you will get stronger from every up and every down that you. I'm
glad to hear that. I'll bear in mind.
Just remember that, honestly.
Oh yeah, no, it's true. That's a very, very, very well memory.
We finished the book, and you do go on to represent Great Britain, and we say that. It says that in the foreword of the book. So tell us a little bit about that experience.
It was as a life experience, absolutely amazing. I didn't have the race I wanted. Unfortunately, I vomited very severely for about 10 hours. But I've never been sick like that. Just even just touch my lips, I'd just be gagging or throwing up, and it became more about just sort of trying to stay upright. But I stayed out there for the full 24 hours. So I'm very proud of that. But I didn't. You
still clocked an impressive distance for somebody who.
Well, yeah, 100.
I know in your big scheme not, but if you put the suffering with the performance, if you put them together,
it was I think 130 miles, but that's like 30 miles less than I wanted. But as an experience to be part of the team, to kind of travel with the team and to wear the vest and. Just things that are just so priceless that, whatever happens, you've got that, and no one can ever take that away. And it's, so that was absolutely wonderful. It changed my whole perception again of the idea of team and what it meant to kind of be in a team. Because I was very worried going into that race that I had to be one of the 3 scorers out of the 6 in the team. And by the end of that race, I was number 6 out of 6. But I realized during that race that actually, I actually just wanted us to do well. And I wanted all of my teammates to do well, because in a way, I didn't want to be wishing me ahead of them by them not doing as well as they could do. And so there was another kind of change in my kind of way of seeing how I fitted in again, the community, but in a team. But just the whole, the supporters in the GB team, the setup, everything, the management, it was just such a positive experience that I'm just feel very sort of grateful to have had that opportunity. I'm hoping to have it again. If I get selected. Obviously, unfortunately, European Champs last year was cancelled, of course. So that would have been my next go. Hopefully the World's Championships in October will happen and I will be selected. Those 2 things remain to be seen, but I would love to go and have another go and not vomit quite as much. There will be some vomiting, I'm sure, but just a bit less would be good.
So you talk about what's next. You've got a big race in 3 weeks' time, which we're very excited about, Run to the Hills, because it's the first race we're going to cover as a race review for our podcast. So
brilliant.
We're going to be a number one cheerers. What's the race coming up?
Yeah, so it's the Centurion Track 100, which is for a lot of 100 milers, I think kind of our dream race. I've heard that term used quite a bit by a number of people in the race. So yeah, 100 miles on the track with a very small field. And that means a lot less distance, extra distance to pass people around the corners and things like that. So that will help with the speed of the event. And we've got an absolute stellar field there. Unfortunately, some of the international runners have had to drop out just because they can't get to the track, which is a real shame. But a lot of like wonderful GB top 100 GB 100 milers there. And Mr. Sorokin, the world 24-hour champion, is now going to be there as well, it looks like, which is, I don't know if he would be going for a 100-mile world record. It's not impossible. People like Sam Amend, I think, probably going to have a go at the British women's 100-mile record. So I think it's going to be an amazing race to just be part of. So yeah, great news that you guys are covering it.
I think from your experience, you're going to feed off that, because you talk about these people in another term, but you are one of those people. You are one of Britain's top 100 milers, 24-hour runners. So start putting your mindset that they're going to be going, Michael Stocks is there, I'm going to be watching him. What's he going to go for? Are you in shape? How are you feeling?
Yeah, reasonable shape. I've been having a lot of trouble with sciatica, which is why I keep kind of going like this.
Yes, I have exactly the same when I do the jiggle.
Yeah, kind of the sciatica dance in the chair. So I've been having a lot of problems with that, but managing to get the training in. So yeah.
Are you still working with Norman?
Yeah, he kind of more on an advisory level. So I think I've largely figured out what I want to do, but I chat to him very regularly, and we just kind of bounce off what I'm doing and to say, look, this is what I'm thinking of doing in terms of long runs and stuff like that, which is great to have his wisdom.
Yeah,
he's obviously incredibly experienced. So yeah, my own hope, if everything goes really well, is a world record in my age category. So for V50. And yeah, that would be,
what's the world record? Sorry, I don't know.
13 hours 27 minutes. In fact, I mean, the world record's slower than that, but someone's run faster than the official world record, and for whatever reason it wasn't ratified or claimed. But I think I would feel a bit weird saying yeah, world record if I knew someone else had run faster. And it was on a track, so I assume it was all legitimate, the 13:27. So that's my aim. If things don't go quite so well, then I think I'd be able to feel happy as long as I go under 14 hours. But I know I can do something a lot quicker if things go well. So hopefully it's my day. So many things can, as we know with these races, can go.
You can as wrong. You do, as you've done so many times, is just get yourself in the start line in the best shape physically and mentally. Is Jane allowed to crew for you?
She is. So we're allowed one crew, which is a very long day for one person crewing.
She'll be like 14 hours. You said as long as you're done in 14 hours, Michael, that's all right. I'm not staying any longer.
Yeah, she'll be saying under 13, please, Michael. So yeah, every second counts. But yeah, it's really, really intensive for crew, and to only have one person.
Yeah.
We are allowed to swap the crew out.
Oh, okay. So she can go for a pee.
Only one person can be there kind of on the grounds. At any point in time. She doesn't want to do that. She wants to just kind of be there. She is very much part of I mean, it really is a team effort. And,
absolutely.
People say that, but I mean, it really, really is. And she wants to see what's happening. She wants to be able to kind of make decisions or make suggestions based on her knowledge of me and my running. So she kind of wouldn't want to swap with anybody else. So she's happy to stand out there and do whatever it takes, which is wonderful for me.
What a legend. What a legend.
Yeah,
well, we'll be tracking, we'll be following, we'll be all positive thoughts out to you. Your book, One Track Mind, I bought it on my Kindle. Where can people find it?
Amazon's probably the easiest. You can order it from Waterstones. They're taking rather a long time to deliver. So for kind of speed of delivery, Amazon's probably the best bet.
Go and have a read. It will change your, even if 24 hours perhaps are not in your future. Well, you never know once you've read the book, but it is such a great book to read to change just the way you think about challenges, and to learn how Michael processes the challenges and his thoughts. It will change the way you think, but it will also might comfort you in a little bit that somebody of Michael's caliber goes through the thought process, the pain, how he copes with the pain. You write it in such a humble way. I really would recommend it to anybody out there who is thinking about doing a big challenge or just wants some inspiration at the moment. Thank you so much, Michael, for joining us on the podcast today.
Thanks so much, Eddie.
Thanks for tuning into the Run to the Hills podcast, and thanks to Chia Charge for sponsoring the show. Chia Charge is about people having real food on the go that is made from ingredients you have heard of, and they taste great too. Right, for this week's competition, we thought it would be great if you would share with us and our community a great or your favorite picture from a run that you have over the next 2 weeks. Tag us in on Instagram or add it to the Facebook post that will pop up this weekend, and we will decide on 11th of May, before we record the show, the winner. So yeah, take a picture of a lovely trail, or if you don't live by the trails in the city, just a lovely picture from your run, and tag us in on Instagram and pop it on the post on Facebook. And the winner will receive a box of Chia Charge goodies.
I'm going to win that one. I'm going to go really high.
Yeah.
No one can top my mountain.
Oh yeah, you've got that
big red with my big red face. I often try and take a selfie, and then I look at it and go, "Oh my god, that's the most terrible thing I've ever seen." delete.
It must have been one of your, you get your maps on Strava, and the elevation that you have at your disposal.
I know.
It's just insane. And these little lumps and bumps we've got over here.
It's insane, but it's also sometimes it's just like, oh, for God's sake, I just want a flat, lovely, smooth canal path.
Yeah, cool.
Oh,
I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody's pictures. I know, I see all the social media, and it's especially now in the UK, we've got some lovely weather. So if you could share some of those pictures.
Please do. What's occurring next week then, Gary? What you got going on?
What have we got going on? Right. Oh, yes. Saturday, big one. Leg 1 and leg 2 of the Bob Graham round at hopefully race pace. Is that a thing? But then also at the end, because you mentioned in another episode, at the beginning of each leg, you basically go up a massive hill.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're going to do leg 1 and leg 2. And on Neil, my friend's training plan, I think you've got 28 miles to do. It doesn't matter if it's 27 or 29, really. But I think it would be good to do leg 1 and leg 2 and then go up to Steel Fell and back. If we can face Steel Fell after doing 7-8 hours of running, I think that's a good mindset to be in. And then we'll bus it back to Keswick and enjoy whatever Keswick has to offer before our journey home.
Not maybe focaccia.
Oh, not this time.
How are we going to carry more water? Are you going to take a bladder as well this time?
Well, no, again, so leg 1, we could stash something in Threlkeld around that area, or there's some fast flowing water at Threlkeld too, so we could top up there. We could carry all our food. So that should be fine. And then also we can go back up to the Beck at Dunmail and top our bottles up just to kind of hydrate us at the end of the run. So yeah, the food will be fine to carry. But yeah, we'll definitely need to get some water. But like I said, there's a couple of opportunities to get running water. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I felt a bit groggy on Saturday after my vaccine jab. So it'll be a good booster for me in my mood if things feel a bit easier at least.
Remember now, when you're in that depth of that last bit of volume training, everything feels so much harder, doesn't it? I remember that taper's going to come and you're going to feel even worse.
Well,
and then come race day.
What I'm really looking forward to is on the day, you don't have to wear your backpack. You don't have your carrying your water. You've got your mules and your nav. All you do is just follow somebody and ask for food and drink every 10 or 20 minutes.
Demand.
Yes.
Do your Beyonce. I just want it now.
Yeah, now demand it. And we got on Thursday. My one kind of fast session is a 10-minute threshold. It's the kind of classic what I've been doing is 10-minute threshold, then 5 by 1K, and then finish with another 10 minutes. That's a big session still.
Big session.
And it's my wedding anniversary today. So
How many years?
10. 10
years. Oh, and it's tin.
Tin, yes.
Have you got? Oh, so did you make her a special charity box?
Yeah, it should. Stainless steel one. No, we got nothing planned, but we were. Oh, it's really sad. Work's so busy. We were supposed to take a day off tomorrow, and there's the Northern Saints Trail near where we live. Durham Cathedral, I think, have done all these trails which lead to Durham Cathedral, and yeah, it's nice. And Lisa wants to do the one from Durham Cathedral to Hartlepool, or whichever way around you decide to do it. So we're going to do a bit of a recce of that tomorrow, but I'm so busy at work, I need to stay there for some delivery people to collect. So we're going to postpone it until Tuesday, and we're going to have a nice day in Durham and do a bit of running. And
Love does not need a timeline whenever it happens.
Well said, well said. And yourself?
Oh, more biking, big biking. The weather's a bit questionable this week. We were blessed with blue skies last week, and the day would start in the minuses but finish about 18, 19 degrees.
Yeah.
So your training is so funny because you do your morning run in like gloves, buff, gilet, leggings, and then you do your afternoon session like strappy top, shorts, sunglasses. It couldn't be more different. So I'm hoping I feel a bit better. Hamstrings. I don't tear my hamstrings again on the long bike. Oh, I've got a 3-hour 30 long run to do as well. So, that's going to be my longest run. I did 2 hours 45 last week. Felt quite good. And so this week, that little bit longer, starting to need a bit of fuel now. Snow's clearing, so I was able to do I love it. You can get about, I reckon we're about 1,700 meters now without snow.
Yeah.
So it's lovely trail running. You're like, whoa, it feels so great. And then you hit these huge snow patches. And my long run last week, I was pretty sure I climbed up pretty much the whole way on the trail, got to about 1,800 meters, was so smug. I was like, I know I am such a local now. I know all the best trails. And I thought they'd have cleared the snow off this long road that they don't clear during the winter to bring me back home. I was like, I've won at life today on this route. And they hadn't cleared the road. And it's about 3 miles on snow, on like this. And it's got tree covering. So then it makes the snow like really icy because it hasn't had any sun. 3 miles. And you go like jog, through the snow. It's a bit like sort of running on the bogs, but it's painful because there's this icy, crusty snow. So I'm going to plan my route a little bit wiser. It might be a case of doing a few loops, but that's cool. I'm still so happy just to be out running, to be on the trails, still in our 10K radius, but fingers crossed it's the last week. But I can't really get past the 10K radius. It's huge. Haven't been able to break it.
Is it a structured session? Is there any?
No. Right now, I'm just all about trying to remind the legs how to run. And so these long runs are just all about volume.
You got your trails, but in the UK, especially on the fell of the Bob Graham round, you see the trail, but then you also see the trod to the left of it, which is the more efficient line. Is that such a thing out where you are, or is it?
Well, it's kind of, you kind of have to stick to the path because you're going to fall off the mountain otherwise. A lot of the running around here is either you're going up the mountain or Chamonix, they've got these long balconies. We don't have that so much. It's quite a steep-sided valley, Morzine, and so a lot of it is all you get is that path. Single track path, or at the moment a lot of it is like kind of fire track roads and pistes. And I also quite aware in the mountains that there's a lot of fauna, so I try and stick on the well-trodden trail, especially at the moment as it's all sort of coming through as well. I try and stay on the sort of tracks, and then you get all sorts of tracks in the summer once they let the cows up.
Oh, yes.
The cows up the mountain, but that's a whole other, the alpine cows. That's a whole other podcast. I think we should do a live one when I'm with the cows. Oh, the biggest things you've ever seen.
When you get close to a cow, they are massive.
Huge. I mean, they're huge, and they've got these huge bells on. Oh, I'm like, how can you even walk?
Yeah.
Anyway. Again, a huge digression. Lots of exciting things coming, hopefully out of lockdown next week, and onwards and upwards to the world getting back to normal.
Fingers crossed, yeah.
Best of luck to anybody who's dipping their toes back into the racing world this weekend. Give us a shout on Facebook. We loved it. We had a few mentions, people doing their races on Facebook, and a couple of people. In fact, we talked about this earlier, didn't we? Talking about John and what influence he'd had, even, you know, people that had only met him fleetingly or through social media, and what an influence he'd had on them in their journey into ultra running, and how people had felt his presence at races. And I definitely still, when I'm out running and there's moments of quietness or stillness, I really feel him really strongly, like, or if I'm whining in my head, come on, Eddie, get on with it. So yeah, we love those shout outs. So let us know if you've done races, how you've got on. Big good luck to you, and a huge good luck as this goes out. Sabrina Vigier will just be starting on her second attempt at the Wainwrights. She's had a go at this record before. She did actually break it, didn't she? But then she said she wasn't going to take the record because she felt that she'd been supported.
Being assisted,
Being assisted coming down backwards off hills. What a machine. And she didn't want us to talk about it until she was actually out there. So let's send good thoughts, good prayers to Sabrina. We look forward to seeing how she gets on. Have a great week, Gary.
And you, Eddie. Take care.
I'm Eddie Sutton.
And I'm Gary Thwaites. And let's
run to the hills.